husband left me the plans for his next job. All I need is a crew to pull it off.
Why should we trust you anyway?
Because I'm the only one standing between you and a bullet in your head. This is for guns.
Guns? From where?
Figure it out.
If this whole thing goes wrong, I want my kids to know that I didn't just sit there and take it. I did something.
The husbands die, and the women have to pick up the reins of the husband's trade, you know, their criminal trade, in order to survive, because they're being threatened with their lives. So they have to sort of, you know, complete their last caper. I think that's sort of really sort of, for me, that was a big hook. I just love the fact that these women have to risk their lives in order to sort of to save them. But they can only do it if they come together from different ethnic backgrounds, from different class backgrounds to do the job. They could only do it as a team. So whatever differences they have to put it to one side and get on with the job.
Solved our problem.
What's this?
This is Belle. She's fast, she's smart, and she can drive. Come on, we can't do this, the three of us. We need a driver.
This is not your place. Please ask her to leave.
I'm standing here. You can talk to me.
I don't know you.
You don't have to. I'm happy to leave right now.
Wait, we need a driver.
Sometimes you just really connect with people, and these women I really connected with. Because I felt like these are all women, just like everyone, I guess, but these are all women that have been labeled. They've had pretty strong labels on them. I mean, Elizabeth is 6'3". And Cynthia is like tattoos and, you know, piercings and sort of like quote unquote biker chick meets black girl meets great singer. And Michelle Rodriguez is just a massive amount of contradictions. She's someone who's considered this kind of badass, but she's so vulnerable and highly intelligent. So I sort of felt like I found my tribe, you know? I sort of found those women who wanted to defy all those labels and who don't judge.
It was a very matriarchal environment, and for me, that's incredibly new. I mean, I'm usually in a sausage factory when I'm on a set, and you know, to be there every morning and to hear nothing but the sound of women chattering every morning was refreshing. And there was this air of not having to explain yourself very often, just because you have this amazing director who's completely in tune with his femininity. There's no ego anywhere. I mean, you could try to look for it, but you couldn't find it. And that was just a refreshing environment.
It's just like, you understand, I read the script a lot to understand the context of what position I'm serving the team for. And then you have to forget about it, because it's in you. If it makes sense, it'll stay. And you just kind of do that. Like, it's kind of like, because the whole point of the character is like, he is unapologetic. It's like, yo, I want this. And I do not care. I don't care. I just don't care about your wants and needs. So I can't care about what's happening over there on the other side of Chicago. Someone owes me money.
Harry Rollins. You never mess with me, I never mess with him. We in different games. I always have respect. So why do you hit me now?
Well, I know why. Thinks you're setting your sights on something high, you're being sloppy.
Mrs. Rawlings, I'm Jack Mulligan. I had the privilege of working with your husband a couple of times. He was a wonderful man. I'm so sorry for your loss. If there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm not a hard man to find. And God bless.
It's a kind of political structure of Chicago and how it sort of normalizes criminality and just the layers of race and violence, which is a perfect kind of setting and backdrop for this story.
The reason why it was Chicago, because I wanted to heighten Western city. I wanted to sort of take my fiction and steep it in the social political environment we live in today.
There was a shooting every single night. On July 4th, there was over 200 shootings and 22 murders.
Your husband stole $2 million from me. This is about my life. Because it's about my life, it now becomes about yours.
I was just happy to get a lead role. I'm not gonna lie. And for, you know, it seemed like a perfect combination of getting a role that was different from a lot of the roles that I get offered, and for the discussion to be about me having a Liam Neeson as my husband. You have to understand, most of the roles that I've been offered, especially when I started my career, if they had attractive before the character's name, I knew I wouldn't get it. So I felt my kind of career coming full circle that Steve saw me that way.
I mean, Viola's like Betty Davis. She's like Greta Garbo. She's like Katharine Hepburn. I mean, there's a real gravitas to her. I mean, those films they used to make in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, which were, you know, female-led. And she has that kind of charisma. But also the fact that she's a depth of sensitivity and a depth of vulnerability, which was needed for this character. There was no other way. You to believe her as Veronica, she didn't have that sort of openness. And she's a very deep well as an actress.
Steve told me to do this scene, and he said, he kept giving me direction. We did it over and over again, and then he said, you know what? This one is just for you, Viola. He was like, don't judge it, don't think about it, forget what I said, forget what anyone else could say, just do what you want to do and leave it all on the floor. And that became my mantra, to leave it all on the floor. You know, to not be afraid of making a mistake. And that's how I feel about this film.
On set, it's like you're ring man if you're boxing. And you're just going out for a round. In between takes, he gets into your ear and just going, this, and he actually knows what to say. And he has a very specific way in expressing that. And it's very interesting. And he just kind of knows. He knows if you're holding back. He knows if it doesn't ring true. He comes in there and just says it and leaves. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like you understand what you're doing and then you go back to the fight again. I think like he's kind of that director, but also he trusts you. He kind of goes, I remember one point I was asking him about the bowling alley scene on set and he was like, I don't know, surprise me, surprise yourself.
He knows what he wants and knows how to get it and is assertive in that sense. But there's this sensitivity to him where his internal world is like playing you know, some sort of like harp. He's just in tune with the sensitivity of energy on a set. And that's a very feminine quality to have.
We gotta start thinking like professionals. We're in business together. There's not gonna be some cozy reunion. After this job, we're done. We have 3 days to look and move like a team of men. The best thing we have going for us is being who we are.
Why?
Because no one thinks we have the balls to pull this off.
The template of a heist picture, for me, it's like a runaway train. It's like going from A to B, but at the same time, within that train, there's a narrative going on. People are having conversations, people are talking, but at the same time, the train is still moving. So it's so many things, different levels of things going on while the journey is continuing. And that's what makes it thrilling to me, because we know that things have to be completed just before the destination. So yeah, that construct was very important. But again, a heist is a construct. And therefore, you know, this is a Western is a construct or mobster movie is a construct. And therefore, our job as artists or filmmakers is always to subvert genre. What Kubrick says, everything's been done, our job is to do it better.
I wouldn't even know what genre to put it in. I mean, to be quite honest, I was so absorbed by the story and the metaphor of the story that I'm just amazed that somebody can think at that many levels in one film. I think it's refreshing and cool.
A good film is like an iceberg. You see a certain aspect of it, but it's actually much more bigger than, you know, than what's been shown. You don't have to see everything. You know, that's not the point. I mean, that's not the point, because we don't see everything. You know, when you meet someone, they always introduce themselves to you. They present their best side of themselves. You have no idea where they've come from. You know, who you know, how they got where they got, what's actually happening in their private life, what's actually happening with how they got there. You have no idea. You only get what you're given. But then through a certain amount of time, maybe you get another person, things start to creep out. And that's, for me, great cinema.